What if I told you that you have a power capable of altering your reality, but it was intentionally hidden from you? This isn't a theory. It's a fact that masters like Thoth, the sage of Egypt, had mastered. They knew that manipulating the energy of your life is shockingly simple, but that knowledge was buried for centuries. And the reason is that people who master their own energy cannot be controlled. Today, I'm not just going to tell you this secret. I'm going to hand you the first key to using it. Think about that feeling of emptiness you sometimes get, that nameless anxiety, or the sensation that you're running and running but never getting anywhere. That's not a flaw in you, it's a symptom. It's proof that your life energy is being drained, diverted, without your permission. You were taught that the world happens to you, but the truth is it happens through you. Your reality is a mirror of your vibration. And here's the first value delivery. Until you know how to change your inner frequency, you'll keep attracting the same difficulties, the same problems, and the same people. But there is a way to break this cycle, and it doesn't involve complicated rituals or years of meditation. It's a shift in perception so powerful that once you understand it, the mental matrix simply collapses. The problem is, there's a force that doesn't want you to discover this. A force that thrives on your fear and your distraction. Stay with me until the end, because I'm not just going to show you how to shield your energy from this silent theft. I'll reveal Thoth's supreme practice, the final alchemy that transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a conscious master of your reality. The game is about to change. This mastery over energy isn't some modern invention or passing New Age trend. On the contrary, it's humanity's oldest and deepest science, wisdom that flourished in civilizations we now consider primitive, but that had a grasp on the cosmos we've barely begun to scratch. Imagine the libraries of ancient Egypt, the temples of Greece, the monasteries of Tibet. In those places, the study of the universe and the study of consciousness were not separate disciplines. They were the same thing. Knowledge was unified, sacred, and above all, practical. Travel back in time with me. See the Egyptian priests not as superstitious mystics, but as soul scientists, using geometry, sound, and astronomy to create elevated states of consciousness. Look at the medieval alchemists in their labs, surrounded by symbols most people today dismiss as quackery. They weren't just trying to turn lead into physical gold. That was the outer metaphor for the real great work, the transmutation of human consciousness, the transformation of the lead of ignorance and fear into the gold of enlightenment and spiritual freedom. The living proof of this legacy survives in texts that defied time and the flames. The Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the figure who unites the Egyptian god Thoth with the Greek god Hermes, is one of these treasures. In it, we find a shocking and empowering statement. The human being is a second god, endowed with the same creative capacity as the universal mind. You are not a passive creature, but a creator in potential, capable of shaping reality through the power of your own mind. This power of self-creation, this spiritual sovereignty, was the greatest imaginable threat to any power structure that relied on obedience, conformity, and mass control. An individual who knows they can create their own reality cannot be easily manipulated. A people who understand their inner power don't need external saviors. That's why this knowledge was systematically hunted, distorted, and suppressed. It wasn't lost by accident. It was deliberately silenced. Mystery schools were shut down, sacred texts were rewritten or hidden, and the bearers of this knowledge were persecuted as heretics. The wisdom that once united heaven and earth was fragmented, and in its place we were given a divided world. On one side, dogmatic religion, which placed God outside of man. On the other, materialist science, which denied the existence of anything beyond matter. In both cases, the result was the same. The human being was dethroned, made to forget their own divinity. But truth cannot be destroyed, only hidden. And the power structures that worked to erase this knowledge didn't disappear over time. They simply modernized, became more subtle, more invisible. And the proof that they still operate, that the suppression of your consciousness continues, is in sensations you feel every day but were taught to ignore as if they were nothing. These modernized power structures no longer need to burn books or persecute wise people in public squares. Control today is much more efficient because it convinced you that the most powerful perception tool you possess is just your imagination. Think about the times your intuition screamed at you. You walk into a room and instantly feel a heaviness in the air, a density that makes you uncomfortable even if everyone's smiling. Or the opposite, you meet someone and feel a lightness, a familiarity, an energy that lifts you for no apparent reason. Have you ever felt completely drained after a conversation with a specific person, even if the subject was trivial? Or felt a wave of vitality while walking barefoot on the grass or staring at the sea? That's not coincidence. It's not fantasy. You're not imagining things. You're reading the field. Your body, in its innate wisdom, is acting as a sensitive antenna, picking up and interpreting the vibrations around you. You were taught to dismiss this as just a feeling, but this is your energetic perception in action. Thoth, in his writings, describes the human being as a spark of divine light wrapped in multiple veils. Your intuition is that inner light trying to pierce through the veils of matter and mental programming. That sudden shiver, that knot in your throat, that gut feeling that something's off, it's your light body, your energy field, reacting to a vibrational dissonance in the environment. It's a biological alarm system far more sophisticated than any of your 5 physical senses. The alchemists had a name for this heightened sensitivity, the soul's universal solvent. It was the ability to dissolve appearances, social masks, and empty words to perceive the true energetic substance of a person, place, or situation. They knew that energy doesn't lie. People can lie, smiles can be fake, but the vibration they emit is an authentic signature of their inner state. Trusting that perception was the first step to navigating the world without being fooled by shadows. By validating this intuition, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop being a passive receptacle for what the world throws at you and become an active reader of reality. You learn to discern which environments nourish you and which ones drain you. You learn to recognize people who vibrate in harmony with you and those who, consciously or not, feed off your energy. This validation is the first act of rebellion against a system that wants you to believe only in what's visible and ignore what's real. The most incredible part is that this ability to read the field isn't some mystical gift reserved for a few. It's an innate human ability, a sense that's simply atrophied from disuse and disbelief. And this reading isn't random or subjective. It's based on a universal law as precise and infallible as gravity. A law that the ancients encoded in a principle so simple its depth is overwhelming. This universal law, the foundation of all magic and all creation, is the first and most important principle of Hermeticism, encapsulated in a short phrase of infinite power. All is mind. The universe is mental. Stop and think about what that really means. It's not that the universe has a mind, or that the mind is part of the universe. It's that the very fabric of the universe, the substance of everything that exists, is mind. A living, thinking, infinite consciousness. If the universe is a great mind, then everything within it, from the most distant galaxy to the tiniest grain of sand, is a creation within that mind, a thought in the mind of the all. And here comes the game-changing part for you. As a being created in the image and likeness of that source, your individual mind operates in exactly the same way on a smaller scale. Your thoughts are not private, insignificant events happening inside your skull. They are real, living pulses of energy. Every thought you have is a decree. It's a vibration you send out to the universe. Thoughts of love, gratitude, and joy vibrate at a high frequency, creating harmonic waves that expand your energy field. On the other hand, thoughts of fear, anger, jealousy, and resentment vibrate at a low frequency, creating chaotic and dissonant waves that contract your field and make it dense. You're not just thinking about something, you're literally tuning your reality to that frequency. This goes way beyond positive thinking. It's not about repeating empty phrases while feeling bad inside. It's about understanding that you are a center of transmission and reception. The quality of your predominant thoughts determines your vibrational signature. And that signature, in turn, acts like a magnet, attracting into your experience people, circumstances, and events that resonate with that same frequency. The world isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. This is true mental alchemy, the ability to take the lead. Thoughts of fear and limitation, and consciously transmute them into the golden thoughts of freedom and power. The ancient masters knew that control over your own mind was the first and last step to mastering life. Because if the universe is mental, and your thoughts are the tool you use to create within that universe, then mastering your thoughts is mastering your destiny. This truth gives you an immense responsibility, but also unimaginable power. It takes you out of the role of victim of circumstances and puts you in the director's chair of your own life. However, this very truth raises a crucial and unsettling question. If your thoughts are so powerful that they can shape your energy and consequently your reality, then the most important question you can ask is, who or what is shaping your thoughts? The answer to that question is the key to understanding how your creative power is being systematically diverted on an industrial scale without you even noticing. You live immersed in an ocean of information designed not to set you free, but to keep you trapped. Think about your daily routine. You wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone. Your social media feed bombards you with outrage, comparison, envy, and anxiety. Algorithms are programmed to keep you engaged, and the easiest way to do that is through strong, low-frequency emotions. Then you turn on the news, which works like a fear propaganda machine. Wars, crises, diseases, disasters. The constant narrative is that the world is a dangerous place and you're helpless. This continuous exposure to fear and stress isn't harmless. It activates your survival system, the famous fight or flight. Your body gets flooded with cortisol, Your mind stays on high alert, and your energy which could be used to create is completely consumed just trying to survive the day. This constant reactive state is what I call the modern spiritual short circuit. It's an endless noise, both external and internal, that prevents you from reaching energetic coherence. It's like trying to hear a soft song in the middle of a construction site. Your true essence, your natural frequency of peace and power, is drowned out by this cacophony of fear, anger, and distraction. You're kept in a deliberate state of survival because, in that state, your energy becomes an easy resource to harvest. Thoth, millennia ago, already warned about the Lords of Shadows, entities that move through humanity in a dark veil, feeding off the disharmony and fear they themselves help generate. What we're living through today is the technological and massified version of that same principle. Entire systems are designed to keep humanity vibrating in the frequency of fear and separation, because a scared and divided population is much easier to control. We've unknowingly become unconscious batteries for a system that feeds on our very life force. You feel this in your chronic exhaustion, in your nameless anxiety, in that feeling of always running but never getting anywhere. It's not your fault. It's the result of an environment designed to keep you in a short-circuited state. An environment that actively suppresses your awareness, that discourages you from looking inward, and that ridicules any search for deeper meaning. The goal is for you to never discover the power that lies in your inner silence. But the good news is, the same wise ones who foresaw this also created the countermeasures. They not only knew how this suppression system worked, but developed precise and powerful spiritual technologies to shield the energy field and become immune to this manipulation. These are tools that were deliberately ridiculed, forgotten, and labeled as superstition, but deep down, they never lost an ounce of their original power. You're being kept in a short-circuited state, but you don't have to remain a passive victim of this energetic war. Resistance isn't about fighting the system out. There it's about strengthening your field in here. And for that, the ancients left us an arsenal of practical tools, consciousness technologies, that work with the precision of physics. They were designed to do one thing: reintroduce patterns of harmony and order into an energy field that's been bombarded by the chaos and dissonance of the modern world. The first and perhaps most powerful of these tools is sound. The Hermetic Principle of vibration teaches us that nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. Your thoughts and emotions are vibrations. The world around you is vibration. So the most direct way to change your own vibration is through the conscious use of other vibrations. That's why mantras, sacred chants, and even certain classical music have such a deep power. They're not just words or notes. They're vibrational formulas that tune your energy to higher frequencies of peace, love, and power. Another essential tool is sacred geometry. Have you ever wondered why certain shapes like the flower of life, Metatron's cube, or the Star of David appear in ancient cultures all over the world, even without contact between them? Because these aren't random shapes. They are the architecture of creation, the geometric patterns that energy takes when it manifests into matter. Meditating on these symbols, or simply having them in your environment, is like placing a divine tuning fork in your energy field, reminding your cells of their original order and perfection. Beyond sound and form, the ancients mastered purification rituals, This has nothing to do with religious dogma, but with energetic hygiene. Just like you shower to clean physical dirt off your body, you need practices to cleanse the energetic pollution you accumulate throughout the day. Baths with coarse salt, which has the property of neutralizing dense energies, or smudging with herbs like sage and palo santo, which cleanse the space and the auric field, are ancestral technologies that work regardless of whether you believe in them or not. The most important thing to understand is that these tools aren't beliefs or superstitions. They're practical applications of the universal laws of energy. They work because the universe works through frequency, vibration, and resonance. When you use a mantra, you're changing your frequency. When you use sacred geometry, you're aligning with harmonic resonance. When you purify yourself, you're removing stagnant vibrations. You're literally maintaining your own energy field. These practices were the bread and butter of daily life for our ancestors. It was common knowledge, passed down from generation to generation. So the inevitable question that arises is, why did these powerful, effective, and universal tools almost completely disappear from our modern culture? To understand this tragic loss, we need to look at the darkest moments of our history, moments when knowledge was deliberately burned and wisdom buried. The loss of these tools wasn't a natural process of cultural evolution. It was a deliberate project of disempowerment. To understand the magnitude of what was stolen from us, we need to place ourselves at the scene of the historical crime. And the epicenter of that crime was the destruction of the Great Library of Alexandria. That wasn't just the burning of scrolls. It was the murder of a unified consciousness. The fire that plunged the Western world into an intellectual and spiritual dark age that lasted for centuries. Imagine what was on those shelves. Thoth's teachings on the vibrational nature of reality sat side by side with Euclid's mathematical treatises. Babylonian star maps coexisted with Greek anatomical studies. Alchemy, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy weren't seen as separate fields, but as different facets of the same diamond, different languages to describe the same and only truth. Science and spirit danced together in perfect harmony. The destruction of Alexandria was the act that began the great fragmentation. Knowledge, which was once an integrated whole, was systematically broken into pieces. Science was encouraged to focus only on the material world, on what could be weighed and measured, and to discard everything subtle or invisible as irrelevant. Spirituality, in turn, was hijacked by dogmatic religions that removed power from the individual and placed it in the hands of a hierarchy of intermediaries, turning inner search into external obedience. This division was the greatest act of control in human history. By separating science from spirit, they gave us immense power to manipulate the material world, to build incredible technologies and vast empires. But at the same time, they left us completely ignorant of who we are, of the power that resides within us. They taught us to conquer the world out there while we completely lost touch with our inner universe. The result was a technologically advanced but spiritually immature civilization. This fragmentation deepened with the persecution of mystery schools and the horrors of the Inquisition, where anyone who dared to keep the flame of unified knowledge alive was brutally silenced. The wisdom of the earth, of healers, alchemists, Gnostics saw of it was labeled heresy and demonized. The goal was clear: to create a single narrative, a single controlled truth, and erase any knowledge that might remind human beings of their sovereignty and innate power to connect directly with the divine. The world we live in today is the direct heir of that fracture. We suffer from cultural schizophrenia. We believe in science, but we feel a void it cannot fill. We seek meaning in spirituality, but often find it divorced from logic and reason. We are divided within because the knowledge we've received is divided. And this historical fragmentation, this loss of the master key that once unified everything, gave rise to a much more subtle and dangerous form of manipulation and energy theft that leaves no bruises, only an inexplicable, deep emptiness inside. That inner void you feel, that exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, is not a design flaw, it's a symptom. It's the direct consequence of the fragmentation of knowledge, which left you energetically vulnerable. Without the tools for protection and the understanding of how energy works, you became an easy target for a very subtle form of predation, the silent theft of your life force. This is not a metaphor, it's a real process that esoteric traditions have known for millennia, and that alchemy describes with surgical precision through the concept of coagulation. Think of your vital energy as a river of pure, crystal clear water. Now imagine that every angry thought, every unresolved hurt, every lingering fear is like a toxic substance being dumped into that river. At first, the current dilutes the poison, but if you keep pouring in the same toxin day after day, the water starts to get cloudy, dense. Eventually, the once fluid and light energy begins to coagulate. Just like milk curdles and forms clumps, your vital energy clumps into pockets of dense and stagnant vibration within your own field. These clumps of dense energy are what many traditions call thought forms or energy parasites. They're not external demons with horns and tails. They're your own creations. They're born from your own mind and emotions, but they gain a sort of life of their own. While they don't have consciousness like yours, they operate with a primary survival instinct. And what do they feed on? The same low-frequency emotion that created them. It's a vicious, self-feeding cycle that happens in the shadows of your perception. Here's how it works. An energy parasite born from resentment will subtly nudge you, bringing up memories and thoughts that make you feel resentful again. Every time you give in and feel that emotion, you feed the creature. It gets stronger, and its ability to influence you increases. That's why certain negative patterns are so hard to break. You're not just fighting a bad habit, you're fighting an energetic entity that lives within your field and will do everything it can to ensure its food supply. The unexplained fatigue, the sadness that comes out of nowhere, the feeling of being sabotaged by yourself, all of it can be a sign that your energy is being drained by these creations. The emptiness you feel is not the absence of something out there, like a new car or a relationship. It's the absence of your own light, your own life force, being consumed from the inside out. You've become the host of thieves, you created yourself, and your energetic house is being looted. But the same tradition that describes the problem also offers the solution. You don't have to be a passive victim in this process. You're not doomed to be a food source for your own shadow creations. The power to expel these thieves and reclaim your energy has always been with you. The first and most crucial step toward this liberation is to develop a skill we all possess, but one that has been systematically numbed by our noisy culture: the ability to use your inner eye. To expel these energy thieves, you don't need complex rituals or an exorcist. You need light. And the most powerful light there is the light of your own consciousness. The inner eye is not a fanciful metaphor, it's your ability to direct the focus of your attention inward, into your own universe of thoughts and emotions, and observe what's really going on there. It's the awakening of the silent observer who exists behind the noise of your mind. This is the first step to true sovereignty. The key to mastery, as Thoth taught, is self-knowledge. Man, know thyself, and you will know the gods and the universe. Knowing yourself isn't knowing your favorite food or your job history. It's mapping your inner terrain. It's having the courage to look at the shadows, the repetitive patterns, the automatic reactions, but this time without judgment. The technique for this is neutral self-observation. It's a practical training to become the guardian of your own space. Start right now. Take a pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling at this exact moment? Name the emotion. Is it anxiety, boredom, frustration? Now, go deeper. Where in my body do I feel this? Maybe it's a tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach, tension in the shoulders. Just locate the physical sensation. Finally, ask, what or who triggered this? Be honest. Was it a memory? A worry about the future? A piece of news you read? The goal isn't to place blame, but to understand the trigger. This simple 3-question exercise, when practiced consistently, begins to break the spell of reactivity. You stop being the emotion and become the one who observes the emotion. This is where the Hermetic principle of polarity comes into play in a very practical way. You create distancer, polarity between the I who observes and the emotion being observed. You are no longer the anger, you are the awareness that notices the presence of anger. In that space you create, in that tiny gap, lies all your power to choose. In that space, the energy parasite begins to starve. It depends on your unconscious identification with the emotion to feed. When you simply observe the anger without becoming it, you cut off its energy supply. The light of your conscious observation is like a spotlight shining on the thief hiding in the dark. It can't stand being seen. It dissolves under the neutral gaze of your presence. You stop fighting and start simply observing, and in observation, healing happens. Practicing this is like building a new muscle. At first, it's hard. The mind will pull you back into the drama, into reaction, into the old pattern. But with practice, the observer grows stronger. You become the master of your inner kingdom, a slave to your own emotions and thoughts. But once you identify that dense energy and shine your awareness on it, what do you do with it? Andean wisdom offers a surprising and deeply alchemical answer. You don't destroy it, you transform it. Once you learn to identify dense energy with your inner eye, the instinctive reaction taught by our conflict-driven culture is to want to fight it, cast it out, destroy it. But ancestral wisdom shows us a much more powerful and elegant path. Fighting darkness is a waste of energy because you're giving attention and strength to what you want to eliminate. True mastery is not in destruction, it's in transmutation. You don't fight lead, you transform it into gold. The Andean traditions have a beautiful understanding of this process. They don't see energy as good or bad. Instead, they classify it as sami, which is the light, refined, and fluid energy of creation, and hacha, which is the heavy, dense, and poorly digested energy. Hacha is not evil to be fought. It's simply energy that got stuck like food that wasn't properly digested and caused discomfort. Your job isn't to vomit the food, it's to digest it and extract its nutrients. This is the heart of the great alchemical work, summed up in the motto Solve et Coagulate. First, through self-observation, you dissolve your identification with the dense energy. You separate it from yourself, realizing that it's something you feel, not something you are. Once the energy is isolated, you can apply the second step, coagulate it into a higher form. You recycle it to transform Hacha into Sami. And how do you do that in practice? The most powerful and accessible tool you have is your own breath. Conscious breathing is the secret fire of the alchemists, the heat that catalyzes transformation. Here's a simple technique based on Andean wisdom. When you identify a dense energy like fear or anguish, take a deep breath. As you inhale, imagine that your breath is gathering all that heavy energy into a ball in the center of your solar plexus. Now, as you exhale, don't push it out with anger. Instead, imagine that you're offering that ball of dense energy to Mother Earth. Visualize a cord running from your body to the center of the planet and, as you exhale, release the Hacha through that cord. The Earth, in her immense capacity for transmutation, knows exactly what to do with it. She receives that heavy energy and recycles it, turning it into pure life force, just like she turns dead leaves into fertile soil. You don't destroy energy, you return it to the source to be purified. By practicing this, you completely change your relationship with your own shadows. They stop being enemies to be feared and become raw material for your growth. Every challenge, every difficult emotion becomes an opportunity to practice inner alchemy, to generate more light. You stop fighting against yourself and start working in harmony with the laws of the universe. And this ability to transmute energy is immensely amplified by an organ in your body that modern science is only beginning to understand. An organ whose electromagnetic power completely outshines that of the brain. For centuries, we've been taught that the brain is the command center, the master organ of the human body. But that's an incomplete view, a legacy of our fragmented science. Ancient traditions have always known the truth. The real sun of our inner system, the throne of the soul, and the engine of our reality is the heart. And today, cutting-edge science, through institutes like HeartMath, is finally proving that the ancients were right. The heart isn't just a blood pump, it's the most powerful organ in our body. The electromagnetic field generated by the heart is up to 5,000 times stronger than the field generated by the brain. Think about that. Your heart emits an energy field that can be measured several feet away from your body. This field, with its toroidal shape, is a miniature reflection of the Earth's and the universe's own field. It sends information to each of the more than 50 trillion cells in your body and also interacts with the energy fields of other people and the environment around you. You are literally touching the world with your heart. What researchers at HeartMath discovered is that the quality of this field changes drastically depending on your emotions. When you feel stress, anger, or frustration, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic and disordered. The signal it sends to the brain and the body is incoherent, generating a state of internal disharmony. But when you intentionally cultivate emotions like gratitude, compassion, appreciation, and love, something magical happens. Your heart rhythm becomes smooth, ordered, and symmetrical. It enters a state called heart coherence. In this state of coherence, the heart and brain synchronize, the nervous system balances, the immune system strengthens, and the production of rejuvenating hormones increases, but the deepest effect is energetic. By entering coherence, your toroidal field becomes stronger, more stable, and more harmonious. You go from emitting chaotic signals to transmitting a powerful and ordered wave of energy. This not only protects you from external influences, but also turns you into a positive influence on your environment. The Hermetic texts and the teachings of Thoth refer to the heart as the inner sun and speak of the flame that burns within you, a spark of the divine fire. Heart coherence is modern science giving a new name to this ancient wisdom. When you choose to feel gratitude, you are literally stoking that flame. You are activating your inner sun. Your electromagnetic field becomes a living portal, a perfect reflection of the harmony of the cosmos, capable of transmuting dense energy with an efficiency the mind alone could never achieve. That's why the alchemy of transmutation becomes so powerful when anchored in the heart. By generating the feeling of gratitude while offering the dense energy to the earth, you exponentially accelerate the process. The heart becomes the great transformer, and when it enters this state of deep and sustained coherence, it can awaken a dormant forcer, serpentine energy that the yogis, the Egyptians, and the alchemists knew as the supreme power of spiritual ascension. When the heart, the sun of your system, begins to shine with the light of coherence, it illuminates your entire being and can initiate the awakening of a potential that lies dormant at the base of your spine. This potential is known by many names, but the most famous is kundalini, the serpent energy. Unfortunately, this concept has been deeply misunderstood and sensationalized in the West, surrounded by stories of danger and madness. But at its core, kundalini is not something to fear or force. It is your own life energy in its purest and most concentrated form. Imagine the vital energy that animates your body is like electricity in a house. Normally, it flows through the circuits to light the lamps and power the appliances, operating at a low and safe voltage. Kundalini is like the full force coming from the power plant. It's an immense potential that remains off at the base of your spine, in your first chakra, for safety. Awakening it carelessly, without having prepared the circuits, would be like plugging street voltage directly into a light bulb, causing a short circuit. That's why ancient traditions always emphasized purification before power. The circuits of your energy house are the nadi subtle channels that distribute energy throughout your body. If these channels are blocked with dense energy, unresolved trauma, and repressed emotions, the rise of kundalini can, in fact, be chaotic and destabilizing. But when the channels are clean, when the energy field is strong, and crucially, when the heart is open and vibrating in love and coherence, the awakening becomes a natural and safe process. The ancient Egyptians knew this process perfectly. The symbol of the uraeus serpent rising from the foreheads of pharaohs was not a mere ornament. It was the symbol of awakened and risen kundalini, representing enlightenment, wisdom, and divine sovereignty. The spine itself was seen as the Jed pillar, the sacred axis of Osiris, the channel through which human consciousness could ascend from the lower realms of matter to the higher realms of spirit. Activating the higher perception centers the chakras along the way. The awakening of kundalini, therefore, is not a goal to be pursued with greed. It is the natural consequence of the great alchemical work. It's what happens when you clear your field, purify your emotions, open your heart, and live in a state of coherence. The energy naturally seeks to rise to the highest levels of consciousness. It doesn't need to be forced, it needs a clear path and a pure heart to guide it. Heart coherence is the key that opens the gates safely. What many forget is that the awakening of kundalini is not just an energetic phenomenon, it is also psychological and spiritual. It awakens deep memories, activates dormant potentials, and can bring to the surface internal content that was hidden. That's why preparation is essential. Without self-knowledge, discipline, and emotional balance, the experience can be misinterpreted or even cause confusion. When the seeker is committed to cultivating awareness and serenity before seeking power, the process becomes a light-guided ascension instead of a chaotic explosion of energy. Also, kundalini isn't limited to a one-time mystical experience. It is, at its core, the energy of life itself, the fuel that animates every cell in your body and every thought in your mind. When awakened harmoniously, this life force transforms the way you see yourself and the world. Your physical body gains vitality, your mind reaches clarity, and your soul experiences a deep sense of connection with the all. In this way, the serpent that once lay dormant reveals itself as a living bridge between the human and the divine, uniting matter and spirit in a single dance of consciousness. However, even with an open heart, for this powerful and transformative energy to flow safely and integrate harmoniously, your energy field as a whole needs to be strong, stable, and protected. It needs to be a fortress of light, a temple prepared to receive the divine. And to build that fortress, there are three fundamental pillars, three golden keys that form the foundation of all true and effective spiritual hygiene. For life energy, whether in its everyday form or in the potential of kundalini to flow safely and powerfully, your field needs to be shielded. Building that shield isn't about closing yourself off from the world, it's about becoming a conscious master of your own energy space. All the practical wisdom we've explored can be synthesized into a clear and powerful system of three pillars: attention, purification, and vibration. These are the foundations of spiritual sovereignty, the basis of true, energetic hygiene that allows you to move through the world without being drained by it. The first pillar is conscious attention. Your attention is the most valuable currency you have. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. You need to become the gatekeeper of your mind, the guardian of your temple. This means deliberately choosing what you allow into your awareness. It means stopping the passive consumption of the emotional and informational garbage the world throws at you. Practicing self-observation, as we've seen, is the essential training for this pillar. You learn to monitor your thoughts and emotions, making sure only what nourishes and strengthens you is allowed to stay. The second pillar is internal and external purification. There's no point in having an alert gatekeeper if the inside of the temple is dirty. Purification is the ongoing act of cleansing the energetic pollution we inevitably accumulate. This includes physical purification through clean eating and contact with nature, and emotional purification through practices like the transmutation of hatcha that we learned. Rituals like salt baths and smudging with herbs are also part of this pillar, cleansing your auric field and your environment of stagnant energies that can weigh you down. The third pillar is the conscious use of vibration. Once your temple is guarded and clean, the final step is to consecrate it, filling it with the highest frequency possible. This is the pillar of active creation. Here, you use tools like mantras, sacred geometry, and above all the power of your coherent heart to raise your vibrational signature. When you chant a mantra or generate the feeling of gratitude, you're not just feeling good, you're actively tuning your field to the harmony of the cosmos, making it impenetrable to lower frequencies. These three pillars aren't isolated steps, they form a dynamic and interdependent cycle. Your vigilant attention shows you what needs to be purified. Purification clears the path so you can raise your vibration. And a higher vibration makes it easier to maintain conscious attention. In fact, these three pillars perfectly align with the three phases of the great alchemical work: Nigredo, purification; Albedo, illumination of conscious awareness; and Rubedo, mastery of vibration. You are, in practice, performing alchemy in your daily life. Over time, practicing these pillars creates not just protection, but expansion. Your energy begins to take up more space, radiating balance and clarity wherever you go. People around you will feel the difference, even if they don't understand why. It's like your mere presence starts to harmonize environments, dissolve tension, and inspire trust. This is the natural effect of someone who has learned to care for their own field. You become a source of order in the midst of chaos, a lighthouse that emits coherence in a world used to dissonance. More than a shield, this energetic fortress is also a springboard to higher levels of consciousness. Every time you anchor yourself in these three pillars, you open internal doors that were previously locked. Intuition becomes sharper, mental clarity expands, and your sense of purpose deepens. It's as if your life stops being a series of automatic responses and starts aligning with a greater flow. That flow is the very intelligence of the universe, which begins to manifest through you consciously, naturally, and irresistibly. By living by these three principles, you stop being a leaf in the wind, susceptible to any passing energy, and become a mountain stable and centered in your own power. You build a solid foundation, a force field of light around you. And it's this foundation, this inner fortress, that prepares the ground for the conscious application of the most fundamental and powerful law of the universe, the law that directly connects your inner world with your outer destiny. With the three pillars of energetic protection firmly established, you've prepared the ground for the great revelation, for the application of the law that governs all manifestation. This is the second great law of the Kabbalion, the Hermetic maxim that Thoth engraved for eternity: as above, so below; as below, so above. This law is often interpreted in a simplistic way, but its depth is the key to becoming a master of reality. It tells us there is no separation between your inner world and the outer world. One is the mirror of the other. This means the universe is not happening to you like a series of random external events. The universe is happening through you. Your external reality with all its circumstances, people, and events is a relentless and perfect reflection of your inner vibrational state. If there is chaos, conflict, and scarcity in your life, it's because, on some level, there is chaos, conflict, and scarcity vibrating within you. If you're seeking peace, love, and prosperity, you can't chase them in the outer world. You must first cultivate them in the garden of your own being. This is perhaps the hardest pill to swallow in the entire spiritual journey, because it forces us to take 100% responsibility for our lives. It's much easier to blame the government, the economy, the boss, or the family for our problems. But as long as you point the finger outward, you give away your power. The moment you accept that your reality is a mirror, you bring the power back home. If your reflection in the mirror doesn't please you, you don't try to change the mirror, you change yourself. The universe doesn't respond to your wishes or empty words. It responds to your frequency, to your state of being. You can spend the whole day affirming, "I am rich." But if deep down you're vibrating in fear of lack, in anxiety over bills, the universe will ignore your words and respond to your vibration, bringing more situations that reinforce the feeling of scarcity. The law of correspondence is brutally honest. What you are is what you attract, not what you want to be. That's why all the work we've done so far is so crucial. Purification, attention, and raising your vibration aren't just to make you feel good. They're the necessary work to change your vibrational point of attraction. By clearing dense energies and cultivating heart coherence, you are changing the image you project into the universe's mirror. The change in your external reality becomes an inevitable consequence, not the main goal. The focus shifts from doing things out there to being something in here. When you understand this deeply, you realize there are no real shortcuts on the path of manifestation. Surface-level techniques might even generate temporary results, but without the inner vibrational shift, they won't last. It's like trying to paint a mirror without changing the image. It reflects, the shine fades quickly, and the underlying truth reappears. That's why spiritual masters always insisted on inner transformation before any pursuit of external achievements. This is where the difference between manipulating circumstances and truly creating a new reality becomes clear. By aligning with this Hermetic principle, you don't just change what you attract, you also change how you perceive and react to the world. Conflicts that once drained your energy begin to lose their grip because you no longer vibrate at the same frequency. People and situations that once seemed like obstacles are now seen as opportunities for growth. Your life stops being a chaotic series of events and becomes a coherent dance between who you are inside and what you manifest outside. This is the solid foundation for the great alchemy to happen, the union of the self with the universe in perfect correspondence. This is the mindset that sets the stage for the final secret. It's the understanding that the supreme power doesn't lie in some complex technique or secret ritual, but in a state of being. It's the realization that you don't need to manipulate reality. You simply need to align with the harmony of the universe. And this deep, transformative understanding leads us directly to the end of our journey, to the secret that ties everything we've learned together. The supreme practice that not only protects, but multiplies your energy, transforming you into a conscious master of your reality. The final alchemy. We've reached the summit of the mountain, the point where all the threads we've woven come together. Thoth's most powerful secret, the ultimate goal of alchemy. The supreme practice that transforms an ordinary human into a master of energy, is not a complicated ritual, a secret mantra, or a difficult posture. It's a state of being, a state that can be described in 2 words: total coherence. It is the perfect, absolute, and sustained harmony between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. Think about it. Most of the suffering and energy leaks in human life come from internal contradiction. You think you need to be healthier, but feel lazy to exercise, and your actions involve eating poorly. You think you want prosperity but feel afraid of scarcity, and your actions cling to what little you have. You think you want a loving relationship but feel distrust, and your actions push people away. This lack of alignment between thought, emotion, and action creates an internal short circuit that drains your life force and sends confusing, contradictory signals to the universe. Total coherence is the complete absence of that contradiction. It's the state where your thoughts are clear and focused. Your emotions are aligned with those thoughts, vibrating in harmony with them. And your actions in the physical world are the natural, effortless expression of that union. When thought, emotion, and action become a single, powerful arrow pointing in the same direction, you stop leaking energy. You become a closed circuit, a self-sustaining system, a sun that generates its own light. This is the true meaning of the sacred marriage of alchemy. It's the union of the king, the mind, clear thought, with the queen, the heart, pure emotion, which gives birth to the divine child, inspired and effective action in the world. In this state, you no longer need to try to manipulate energy or force reality to bend to your will. You become the source itself. Your mere presence, your coherent state of being, begins to reorganize reality around you to reflect your inner harmony. This was the state that great masters like Jesus and Buddha reached. Their power didn't come from an external source, but from their own flawless vibrational integrity. They were the embodiment of total coherence. And although reaching this state permanently is the work of a lifetime, you can experience a glimpse of it right now. Let's do a final 1-minute practice. Close your eyes, focus your attention on your heart area, actively generate the feeling of gratitude, and allow that emotion to fill every cell of your body. Now, hold that feeling and simply be. In that glimpse of coherence, you touch the power that has always been within you. Power doesn't come from outside, it is born from your own integrity. The revolution is, and always has been, internal. Your energy, your life force, is calling you home to this state of alignment. The big question that remains, now that you have the map, is, what will you do with it starting today? Remember, energy doesn't stay still, expands. Share this message, because the awakening of one person accelerates the awakening of all. If you made it this far, I want you to leave the following phrase in the comments. Energy follows thought. That way, I'll know you were part of this journey all the way to the end. If you want to support the channel more directly, the first pinned comment has a link where you can contribute and help spread more content like this. Any help is super important to me and to the growth of the channel. But know this, just watching all the way to the end has already helped me a lot. If you can share this video with someone, you'll already be making a huge difference. And don't leave yet, because I saved a special video just for you. Click the video showing up on the screen now, and I'll see you there.